For the best prices and service on Pokemon TCG singles and products, check out ccgcastle.com and use promo code Evolutionaries-5 for 5% off your next order.
Hello, Pokemon fans! I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and welcome back to Deck Tech Thursday. We took a week off to go open up Burning Shadows last Thursday, but we are back and ready to go with some post-rotation format decks. Now, that means we will not be playing with anything that is in the current format, at least until September. September 1st, we do lose all of the cards prior to Breakthrough. So it will be Breakthrough on, and that is the way we're going to construct all of our deck techs here for the foreseeable future. We're not going to go backwards, obviously. Worlds is approaching, and unless you have your invite or plan on attending the Open, chances are you're not going to need to know anything of the current standard format, maybe for a League Cup or something like that. But chances are those decks are already set in stone, so you've got a pretty good idea of what you're doing there. So now we're going to focus on playing decks past rotation, and also I'm going to try to spice in a couple of expanded decks for once, since expanded is a much larger, broader sense of the format now than it ever was before, with expanded showing up for almost half of the current regional schedule. So with that being said, we're going to focus on standard today and next Thursday, and then we'll see, maybe we might do something for expanded either the week after or 2 weeks after that, one or the other. But we will be throwing some standard or some expanded in alongside of standard. Today, we're going to focus on this card. Wait a minute though, but this card's already pretty well known in the standard format, right? Well, yes, but there's more to this card than meets the eye. Darkrai EX does live on past the rotation in a very different sort of way, using cards that are coming from brand new sets. And I think that it's made it pretty darn strong and doesn't really have a terrible guard matchup either. We're gonna see. I don't know, but for once, I'm gonna try this out and play the deck that makes the most amount of sense, at least coming from a deck builder's point of view, for a basic, strong, standard Darkrai EX deck moving forward into the new format. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to take a look at the Pokemon lineup first, which will include 4 copies of Darkrai EX. Now, Darkrai EX is a very well-known card in the format. It's done very well throughout the last year or so. Darkrai EX has 2 attacks, Dark Pulse and Dark Head. We're going to be focusing on Dark Pulse more than anything, doing 20 damage for each Dark Energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So 20 damage plus 20 more for each energy attached to each of your Pokemon, each Dark Energy, I should say. So that's going to turn 20 into 40, 60 right off the bat, just on this Darkrai alone for its energy cost. Right there, that's already doing 60 damage. With a Choice Band, you're doing 90 right off the bat for a double colorless energy. Very strong and very easy to add up the damage by adding Dark Energy to your benched Pokemon as well. So we're going to try to get that done as fast as possible. This is a speed deck. This deck is not one to make it into the late games. You want to start knocking things out to a point where your opponent cannot overcome them in any way, shape, or form. So there's 4 copies of Darkrai EX, our main attacker of the deck. Now we have a little bit of a support system now, thanks to Burning Shadows, and that is in the form of Darkrai GX. Now, there is a rule in Pokemon that says you cannot play more than 4 copies of a card with the same name. The difference is, Darkrai EX and Darkrai GX are 2 totally different cards. So you can actually play 4 Darkrai EX and 4 Darkrai GX without any problem whatsoever. Now, the reason we're going to be putting this card in here is for its ability. So let's take a look at Darkrai's ability first. All right, the ability is called Restoration. Once during your turn before you attack, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you may put it onto your bench and attach a Dark Energy card from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Well then, this makes things even more interesting, because not only can we attach for turn, but we can also summon this out of the discard pile onto the bench with a Dark Energy attached to it. That's 2 energy per turn. We also have other forms of energy acceleration as well that can really just throw the numbers in your favor very, very quickly. I was debating between 3 or 4 of these. I've decided on 3 in in exchange for more consistency, which is always a good thing, I think. I don't think you need 4 of these, but I feel like 3 is definitely a must. So we got 3 of these. Also, let's not forget to mention that it has an attack of its own. It does have Dark Cleave for 130 damage, 2 dark and a colorless, and this attack's damage is not affected by resistance. So that's pretty neat that it goes through resistance. And then we also have a GX attack, Dead End GX. If your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by a special condition, that Pokemon is knocked out. Now, in this deck, that's not going to make any difference. Your GX attack is never going to matter. But Dark Cleave might come in handy because you're already attaching energy to it anyway, so it's a good way to have an alternate attack just in case Dark Pulse, or even, well, I mean, while we're here, Dark Head for a dark and a double colorless, 80 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, it does 80 more damage. I would much rather do the 130 damage for 3 energy than just do 80 because they're not going to be asleep. There's nothing in this deck that's going to force them to go to sleep. So I would rather be able to hit for that 130 for 3 and have no resistance effects. That's just me. So there's that. Also, we are keeping 1 copy of Yveltal in here, the Oblivion Wing one, 30 damage for a Dark Energy, and you can attach a Dark Energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. So this is another non-EX or non-GX attacker that will help you out in accelerating energy. Darkness Blade as well, 2 dark and a colorless, flip a coin. If tails, this Pokemon cannot attack during your next turn for 100 damage. Again, I would much rather use 130 for 3 than 100 for 3, but it's there if you need it, and it also throws the price exchange just a little bit into your favor. If your opponent knocks out 2 of your EX, GX, and 1 Yveltal, then they still have to knock out 1 more Pokemon, and everything else is EX or GX. Speaking of more GX Pokemon, I do have 3 copies of Tapu Lele GX in here. I had 2 originally, with 4 copies of Darkrai GX, but then I thought about it. And truth be told, Tapu Lele is good for many reasons. Number 1, because of its ability, Wonder Tag. When you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card and put it into your hand. So the ability is good, and that's why we play this card more than anything. But in a deck that's all about placing energy out and getting as much energy out as possible, well, let's face it, Tapu Lele is actually not a bad target thanks to its attack, Energy Drive. Energy Drive doing 20 damage times the amount of energy attached to both active Pokemon. Now, of course, there's no weakness or resistance applied, but that's still a decent attack. It's basically a baby Dark Pulse, except for your energy's only on your active and your active and their active. So, I mean, Tapu Lele is not a bad place to put your energy, and it does have 170 HP, so it's not in any means a glass cannon. I just think that 3 Tapu Lele is probably going to be a better way to go. We have no more VS Seeker. I don't really feel comfortable playing Random Receiver or Puzzle of Time in this current format, mainly because of Garbodor, and my teammate and good friend Raul Reddy from Team CCG Castle Pro Pokemon pointed that out to me. It makes a very good point. I was actually going to originally put either Random Receiver or Puzzle of Time in here. I just don't think it's the way to go. I think Garb is too prevalent in the format, and I feel like it's just not going to be the play, at least not to start off with. At least gauge to see what the format might do, what the meta might do, the way that it shifts. People might just be wanting to try new decks. I don't even know. But for now, we're going to leave it out, and we're going to put in 3 Tapu Lele GX. Next up, we're going to move on to our supporter line, which, no surprise, supporter lines have been beefed up quite a bit without VS Seeker. We have 4 copies of Professor Sycamore. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Obviously, this isn't something that you're going to want to do a ton of, because we don't have access to VS Seeker to get ends to put things back into our hand and shuffle things in if we have to. We don't want to throw out a ton of cards. Recycling cards is not as easy as it used to be. We do have 3 copies of N. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck, and each player draws a number of cards corresponding to the amount of prize cards that they each have remaining. There you go, pretty simple. And then, instead of a 4th N, I decided I want to try 1 Lily. Now, Lily's really good for the very first turn of the game, especially with Tapu Lele being there, an Ultra Ball away, essentially. You're going to draw cards until you have 6 into your hand, unless it's your first turn, and then you can draw up to 8. So this is really your first turn supporter to really just pile on the cards and get things moving as fast as possible. And I feel like late game, Lily might be a slightly better than an N. Just my thought, though. Also, since we're talking about post-rotation, we have 3 copies of Guzma. Now, your boy Guzma says, switch one of your opponent's benched Pokemon with one of their active Pokemon. If you do, you switch your active with one of your benched as well. Now, the reason why this does not hurt us whatsoever is because there is a stadium that we play in this deck that gives us free retreat. So really and truly, Guzma just becomes a Lysander for us. And also, chances are we've got something powered up on the bench ready to go as well. So it doesn't hurt us even if we don't have that stadium in play. Now, a new card to being introduced to this deck that I think might actually be decent, or at least it's worth a try, is Sophocles, which we have 2 of in this deck. Sophocles says, discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards. So in this case, what is a good thing to do to make this card as optimal as possible in this deck? Well, if you have Darkrai GX and a Dark Energy in your hand, throw them away. Draw 4 cards. That's 4 cards essentially for free. It's using your supporter for the turn, and you're putting your Darkrai and your Dark Energy right there and immediately activating that ability and putting it right back onto your bench. Free energy acceleration, free draw. It just seems like a really good combination if you ask me. And it's accessible from Tapu Lele. So we really only need 2 of those to get things really moving. You can also use Ultra Ball to toss stuff away. No big deal. But if you have in your hand a Sophocles, an Ultra Ball, a couple of cards, and a Dark Energy, well, there you go. Make it happen. Ultra Ball, get that Darkrai, throw away the Darkrai and the Energy with Sophocles, and then you're getting 4 cards back into your hand. Seems like a good swing to me. I'm testing this as a tech card in here. Not sure how it's going to work out or play. It just seems like a good idea if your opponent can't hit the numbers, and that is going to be 1 copy of AceTrainerLiam. AceTrainerLiam says, put one of your Pokemon that has any damage counters on it and all cards attached to it into your hand. So essentially what you're doing here is saving yourself from a knockout. You can take one of your Pokemon like, I don't know, a Tapu Lele or something that's damaged. You can just pick it right up, put it into your hand along with the energy, and worry about everything else from there. Now obviously you don't want to pick stuff up that's got too much energy on it because you do need to keep your Dark Pulse attack going, but if you're in danger of losing the game because of one Pokemon, you really might want to pick that thing up and, you know, put it back into your hand so it doesn't get knocked out. So that's it for our supporter and Pokemon lineup so far. We're going to move on to our items next, which is quite straightforward and very, very short listed. So we have 4 copies of Ultra Ball here. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. This is the way you're going to access pretty much, well, actually, not pretty much, every Pokemon that you want to get that you don't draw into is going to come from Ultra Ball. And everything is searchable through Ultra Ball, so why not run Ultra Ball, right? Obviously, too, another good combination would be to Ultra Ball away for the Darkrai, Sophocles it away, like I said before. You can get your Lele's that way. Works good. All right, next item we're going to take a look at here is 4 copies of Max Elixir. This is the energy acceleration that I was talking about before. Look at the top 6 cards of your deck. Attach a basic energy you find there to a basic Pokemon on your bench and shuffle the deck. Shuffle the cards back into your deck. The other cards. So, as I was saying, you have a way to attach for turn. Then you have a way to Max Elixir for turn. Multiple times, by the way. Let's just say you hit all 4 Max Elixirs. You attach for turn. You use 2 restorations off the bench, out of the discard pile onto the bench. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 energy. You can actually accelerate 7 energy in 1 turn. Theoretically speaking, up to 8 because of the other Darkrai if you really wanted to. How busted would it be of a turn for someone to pull that off to just go, all right, boom, 4 Max Elixirs, 3 restorations, and attach for turn. And you're hitting for, how much? 160, 170, 180 damage. Just like that. In Choice Band, 210. That'd be so broken, so busted. And it would take a lot of luck because it's probably never going to happen. But just saying, it would be nice, right? It would be nice. So as I mentioned with Choice Band, we do run 3 of these to do 30 more damage to each Pokemon EX and GX that we happen to be attacking. So Choice Band's really good for hitting some numbers that you may not be able to reach thanks to lack of energy. Again, 20 damage times the amount of energy is good, but sometimes it's not good enough. In the cases of hitting Pokemon like 180 HP, you've got 6 energy attached, 120, 130, 140. You're only hitting for 140. You're 40 short. Okay. Not 40, I'm sorry. If you had 7 energy, 140, 170. Yeah, 170, 180, 190. You can hit for 190 thanks to that. Yeah, math is hard sometimes. Just saying. So excuse that. But yeah, if you had 7, then this would help you hit that 190 to knock out the 180. Our other tool card that we run in the deck here is 3 copies of EXP Share. EXP Share is a pretty big deal in this deck. When your active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you may move 1 basic energy card from that Pokemon to the Pokemon that this card is attached to. A lot of people are like, oh, Wishful Baton, or whatever that card is. I think it's Wishful Baton is the better move. Well, not really, because when you have EXP share, it's on your bench, and you're moving 1 energy. That's true. But if you have Wishful Baton, and it's attached to your active, because that's what Wishful Baton does, and your opponent goes, Field Blower Knockout, well, you've lost all that energy anyway, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference. At least with EXP share, it's on the bench and you're only losing 1 potential energy instead of losing 3 potential energy. I personally think EXP share is better. Not to mention, your active, you're really going to want to have Choice Band attached to it more than anything else. You're not really going to want to have Wishful Baton attached to an active because you're not dealing the extra damage that way. This can make a big difference. So Choice Band is the much better move on the active than Wishful Baton will ever be, because EXP share puts it onto any Pokemon that's on the bench and will move energy to that Pokemon. Speaking of field blowers, we do run 2 of our own here, just in case. Choose up to 2 in any combination of Pokemon Tool cards and Stadium cards in play, yours or your opponent's, and discard them. You might run into something that you need to get tool cards off of. One case may be fighting Fury Belts to bring down the other opponent's Pokemon's HP to a knockout range. That's one potential thing. You can also discard Ether Paradise Conservation Center. You can get rid of that with Field Blower as well, which is going to reduce the amount of damage your Pokemon is doing anyways. So theoretically speaking, if you're facing against, say, a Tapu Koko deck, they've got a Fighting Fury Belt attached, and they have Ether Paradise out as well. All right, cool. So let's Field Blower them both away. All of a sudden, Koko is now a 170 HP basic Pokemon that is within range of a knockout, given that you have enough energy on your board to use Dark Pulse. So that's just one thing to keep in mind, and I think that that's definitely worth warranting 2 spaces in the deck for Field Blower. We do have 1 copy of Super Rod because, well, Super Rod is still good, and we want to shuffle in 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from our discard pile back into our deck. We don't want to lose those resources forever, essentially. So that will do it for our item cards. Now we're going to move on to our stadium cards, and this is what I was talking about with, essentially, free retreat. We have 3 copies of Altar of the Moon, which says the retreat cost of each Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's, that has any psychic or dark energy attached to it is a double colorless less. So let's take a quick look here at our retreat cost of our Pokemon. So first and foremost, we have Darkrai EX, 2 retreat cost. Cool. Darkrai GX, 2. Awesome. Yveltal, 2. Even better. Tapu Lele, 1. Everything on this board has free retreat because of Altar of the Moon, and having, as long as it has, of course, one of these attached to it, or a psychic, either way. Having darkness energy attached to it, or dark energy attached to it, is the only stipulation, which is why Guzma doesn't hurt you, even if you don't have anything on your bench that's worthwhile. As long as it has an energy attached to it, it's free retreat. So you're gonna pick something on your opponent's side of the field, take it, put it into their active, you're gonna move something of yours on the active onto the bench, and then, simple, all you gotta do is retreat, as long as you have an energy attached, which, honestly, if you don't have an energy attached to it, you're playing the deck wrong, or it's just extremely early in the game, and you really shouldn't have played Guzma in the first place. Just saying. All right, now the energy lineup. Here we go. Are you ready, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 energy. That's right, guys, 15 energy. It is one of the highest energy concentrated decks in the metagame, really. Volcanian's got a high number as well, but 15 on Darkrai seems to be about right, given that all of our power comes from this right here. And it can't be hammered away by enhanced hammers, so that's always fun. It can be flare grunted away, and of course it can be crushing hammered away. It can also be Plumeria'd away if anybody decided to play Plumeria. I don't see it, not yet, when we have better cards to use, but I'm just saying it's a possibility. So, this is the deck, guys. All of your power comes from the amount of energy you have attached to your Pokemon, your choice bands, and how fast you can make it happen. So, this is a standard September 2017 onward deck profile, including Burning Shadows as well. So, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Take the deck, do with it what you want. There's a couple of cards here that I could go either way on. I'm not 100% certain on the Lily. I'm really not 100% certain on the Acerola. And I guess you could kind of decide where you feel about the Tapu Lele's being 2 or 3. I really could go either way on that. Everything else, I'm pretty confident in. This is prior to a lot of testing, but we'll see how it goes because we are going to have to face against N with this deck, not tomorrow, but next Friday. So make sure you guys stay tuned in for that and check out his deck profile, which will be coming up 1 week from today. So next Thursday will be the next Deck Tech Thursday, and you'll get to see what he comes up with for the post-rotation standard format for the Pokemon trading card game. With that being said, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below, subscribe for more TCG content, and we look forward to seeing you guys in tomorrow's video. You all take care. Have a great day.